especially in percussion, a lot of responsibility, like you're saying, where you have quite a bit of power as the battery. You can really pull everything together, like you said. What is more difficult? I know that it's very different, and so choosing one might be tough, but I'm going to ask you to do it. Holding yourself to an elite professional standard like that, or holding patience for students who are still figuring out how it all works?
Oh, it's easy. I am far more critical of myself. I have all the patience in the world for a student, and and I'll say this mindfully in case there are any current students who ultimately, if you can do the la 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 thing for a second, I may show a little bit of frustration, of impatience, whatever, being the teacher, the tough love sort of thing with a kid. Emotionally, I'm not feeling that at all. I'm good. Something I do say to my older students in that progression of, getting into nuance. When a kid falls short and they apologize to me, I'm like, no, don't apologize to me. I'm not a worse teacher or player because you didn't do what you need to do. I'm fine. Apologize to yourself. You own that. You take that. But that absolves me from having that emotional reaction. I don't think of myself as terribly emotional. When I was younger, I idolized the character Data in Star Trek: The Next Generation because he had no emotions. I was like, how can I be that? I want all the just that's. So I'm naturally, I think I'm fairly stoic. I'm a little bit more animated because teaching is, among other things, is a performative art. It's challenging if you're trying to hype a kid up to do something. Kids are far more emotional than they are logical. I'm trying to move them to the logical because that's who I am, and I think that's really valuable, and I think that's what I bring to the table for a kid. Logic is everything. Get past the emotion. Music does not care. The audition, the black and white, does not care that you're feeling this or that or whatever. Music just wants it to be right. That's the page. Those are the instructions. Play those notes at that time in a steady rhythm, right dynamics, all that sort of stuff. It's black and white. So to take the emotion out of that, to really understand the mechanics of it, that's really what I try and do with kids. They can figure out the emotion. They're going to be fine on that. So we can talk about that, how to manipulate that. But yeah, in terms of all that, I have all the patience in the world for a kid. If they need to learn, if it takes them 7 years and they still don't ever fully get it, but I was with them for 7 years, from day one in 6th grade to the day they're walking down the aisle, getting their diploma. I'm good. Like, it's. I wish for every single kid to get as much growth, as much learning as they possibly can. I will do anything and everything I can to help that, to encourage that. But ultimately, it's the kid. It's the kid's responsibility. So, yeah, I'm good. Myself, however, I am a hypocrite. How dare I not be the very best? Oh, how that's. There was an early in my teaching thing when I was in college. One of the gigs that I had, I was it was indoor drumline. Basically, I was the percussion director for Westmont Hilltop High School in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's an indoor thing. Like, I was in school, I was an undergrad, and so it was like an after school, like evenings, like 6:30, 8:30 rehearsals, something like that. Shows on the weekends. Standard indoor drumline for everywhere other than us. They do it in the spring, and it's separate from marching band. It's, yeah. But yeah, they. I mean, I was I think I was a sophomore when I started doing that. I did it for a few years. I was not a good player, and so there were times where I would try and model something, a common teaching technique, modeling, which is actually something I try not to do nearly as much nowadays, to really try and stay out of that. Not because I can't do, but I think it's part of the struggle. First off, I think there is enough modeling. I think Kenan does a lot of modeling. They get plenty of modeling there. We have Bill, for those who don't know, Bill Bachman, who I think we could say he's pretty good. He's if there's a better rudimental drummer, specifically someone who can explain it better than Bill Bachman, I would like to meet them. I was using Bill's books 5 years before I met him. Bill and I actually taught in Plano together. Bill lived up in, if I remember correctly, he was a session drummer up in Nashville for a number of years, moved to Allen, got picked up by Plano while I was at Plano. So he and I were working together. But when I was at Plano West, before I got to Plano, Bill was still in Nashville. It was required text in my drumline auditions for Plano West that if you want to be a bass drummer, you got bass logic. If you were a tenor player, you got quad logic. And if you were a snare drummer, you got rudimental logic. Bill's, I think they were his first books. They were required texts. It was just by dumb luck. There's that luck thing again. By dumb luck that he and I ended up teaching together at Plano for a few years. And then completely coincidentally, dumb luck yet again, we moved to Marcus the same year. I remember I opened the 5-octave door waiting for my next kid. Bill walks in the double doors in the far end from the 5-octave. And he's like, what do you do? I work. So even though Bill and I have both been at Marcus now this year 14, he and I have actually accidentally been together for more like 16 or 17 years. Bill's great. I don't need to model when I have Bill. I'm not as... Bill's a little bit better at it than I am. I have no ego in that. Bill is ridiculous. Find anybody who's better at it. So what can I then bring to the table? Well, kids that figure it out for themselves. You know, the beginner who they don't really understand what's on the page, but they're just kind of looking on the person next to them and just kind of mimicking. Well, you can get away with a lot if you just mimic. In the one-on-one setting, the kid can't get away because there's nobody else to. And so really, it's one of the most important tools that I use as a teacher, specifically with the youngins. I don't model. If absolutely needed, absolutely, I will do that. But more of it's like, no, you can read that page. Okay, how are you going to figure out that problem? Okay, so what is the problem? That's right. You got to figure out what the problem is first. Oh, you don't understand what the rhythm. Okay, well, what could you do for? That's right. You could count but you don't know what's count. Okay, so what could you? Oh, right. That's why you have a pencil. And if any of current students are watching this, better have your pencil, take notes and all that. That's but no, you can you stay out of the way and you really it's a very Socratic. Do you know the Socratic method of teaching?
Yes.
It's absolutely, I am a Socratic teacher.
I love it.
I think it's the best way for people to learn. Because people are now not being told. It's the question. It's asking the leading question to get them to think about it. It's giving that exposure without putting it on a silver platter. So yeah, that's the trying to remember. I love tangent. You know me with. That's.
Well, I think it makes for a very interesting conversation.
Oh yeah,
because you just there's the little sprinkling and peppering of whatever.
Yeah,
it adds just a little flavor. No, I mean I think you answered kind of the point very very clearly. It's like whenever you're holding patience versus holding yourself to a high standard, right?
Oh yeah,
and I think by having a lot of patience for a student, and even I think a lot of what we're talking about generalizes very very well to mentorship and doing anything well in life. But whenever you're holding patience for someone that you are giving to, that implicitly, I think, holds them to a high standard because you're not telling them what to do. You're letting them set the standard for themselves.
You nailed it. That's it. It's ultimately their responsibility. They get to decide. They don't, in the program now, I mentioned region auditions earlier, and that's a huge thing. And Kenan very consistently has said for years that is the single most important thing we do as a percussion program. Middle school, high school, it's region. It's the great equalizer. If you can do the things required for region, 99% of the stuff you're going to need to do for the whole program. I happen to fully agree with him, 100% on that. I was doing that separately. I couldn't mandate it in my other programs because I wasn't always the one in charge of it, but I certainly encouraged it. Or went into some programs as just a lesson teacher, and that was what it was like. It was great, but that's the great equalizer. Where was I going with that? Oh, I do it.
Pouring into people, letting them set the standard for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, if they don't want to do that, though, okay. You can do whatever you want to do so long as you're willing to accept the consequences. That's teachers have their lines. And that's certainly one of mine. If you do not want to work at your region stuff, I'm fine with that. I texted you after as I was watching the Will's interview. I was like, Mr. Kelly cares about. I actually didn't. I only cared if the kid cared. If they wanted All-State, if they wanted to make Wind Symphony, okay, then I'm, because I'm I'm your cheerleader in that regard. If that's what you want, all right, that's what we're working towards. I didn't care what your goal was, so long as you had a goal, including if that goal is not music. Not everybody stays, if they stay in the program, I know them for 7 years. I am their teacher for 7 years. But not everybody, music's not for everybody to do it at that level. And frankly, the ones that we do it at that level, like that, the kids who, have gone through the program, who lasted the 7 years, who achieved the highest that the program has to offer. There's an obsessive, it's that striving for excellence, which is, I think that's essential. I wish that for every kid, for every student, whatever they're doing, music, not music, doesn't matter. I don't care what it is that you do, but find the thing that you want to do and give it everything you've got. And if you find that music is not the thing, that you're really into theater, and you just like you spent, and kids, they'll either consciously or not consciously know it. This is how my teacher saw it. It's how Murph knew in me. I was the kid that, as they were locking up the band hall, they didn't notice that there was one kid left and is still practicing. I've slept at my high school under a marimba more times than I can remember. Or in we had a little computer lab. It was a tiny closet. It's the mid 90s. And for us to have a computer with music software on it. It was amazing. And I would just tinker on that. I was just like, this is fascinating. And I try and write something in there. And it's like, okay. And I get tired and I was just like, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to just sleep here. Marimba covers make great blankets. That continued all the way through college. And you just there's no sense of walking down to your dorm just to wake up at 6 a.m. to go back to the marimba you were just at. Just take the cover and then you, yeah, I know I'm going on a tangent. I keep losing my,
that's okay. Setting the standard for themselves, like students setting their own standard.
Oh yeah, they get to decide.
Yeah, they decide.
They absolutely get to decide. Yeah, that's it.
So you're constantly learning new things on the road, like we talked about, whether it's people or if it's geography or history or whatever the theme of the particular stop is. That is a very distinct nuance in between that and like percussion performance, how do you keep the curiosity alive whenever you return to such a specialized profession?
Oh, this might come across as I don't know, jaded, or just it comes with age. It's that I don't have to try and find the curiosity in the professional gigs as much anymore. That sphere, I've done this a long time. And when I get the call for that gig, give an example. It's actually music that I know really, really well. I don't know if there's much music I know better than this. West Side Story. A few months ago, last semester, so I played with the Abilene Philharmonic, one of their regular subs. I pretty much play every concert with them. And the principal, his name's Darren, great guy. Just one of those cats, like, I have no recollection of how he and I met. And yet he's just awesome. Like, we just have that just a really deep friendship that just was like, oh yeah, of course we're yes.
One of those friendships where you've always been friends.
Oh yeah. So he's the principal. He's great player. Like, he's professional. He's fun. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing. But and we did the concert before. We were sitting in the rehearsal, and we realized West Side. So the concert we were doing was not terribly difficult. I think I played like 10 notes. Like, I had violinists walking by. It's like, have you gotten to play it? Or, man, you really... because I played like literally like 10 notes or something like that. It was like a little Glock thing, and then I was like done. Which is a lot of the gigs that I played. Tonight, I played triangle for like 10 measures. Spread it. It's a 45-minute workout. I played triangle for like 10 or 15 measures. Play a couple tambourine notes on beat one. And then just do that for a while. A suspended cymbal roll, and I'm good. Easy. West Side Story is not that. And so for a month, he and I are going back and forth. We're texting, we're setting links, because there's certain, like the mambo. How do you treat the mambo? It's a symphonic dances for West Side Story with when you do it with an orchestra. And so there's certain ones that like are just really cheesy the way that's written. Leonard Bernstein, one of the great American composers, conductors, musicians. He's one of the most important figures we have in music education in the United States. Did not write terribly authentic Afro-Cuban music. That's what he wrote for the mambo was not great. And Darren and I are kindred spirits on this one. And we were like, let's make this good. So we're sending links back and forth. Like, I'm finding like, hey, these cats, the Israeli Philharmonic, they did it this way. Or, these cats are doing that. Like, oh yeah, we could. And so it's this back and forth that we're so geeking out on it. It ended up being one of my favorite. It'll go down as one of the favorite times I ever got to play it. The first question, I was like, because he's the principal, he gets to decide who's playing what. It was like, you playing the vibe part, or you playing the drum sets, because he's great on both. And I realized whichever one he does, I'm doing the other one. And so he picks vibe, so I'm sitting on the kit, and I'm getting which means I get to like, and there's no drum set part in the mambo. In the one of the movements in symphonic dances, West Side, is the mambo. Watch Dudamel do it with his Venezuelan Youth Orchestra or the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And it's just like they're twirling trumpets and a spinner. I mean, it's a party, and it's like, yes, Dudamel got it right. We want to do something like that. We're not going to be spinning trumpets, but we can just make it just a party, just raucous. And so we had a drum set.
Ooh.
And I'm just playing like a legit mambo, just kind of groove. And I've got multiple cowbells. So I have my little high pitch one that I drop down to the quarter note, just laying down. It's just kind of this funky groove. And Darren just let me kind of do. And it's like, I was like, hey, I kind of want to do this here. But he was just like, yeah, he let me do everything I wanted to do with it. But it was this collaboration. Like, I'm good. I'm going on so long for this. I was like, That was exciting. That doesn't happen so much. And the longer you do this, the less frequently that happens. But perhaps as a parallel to when you plateau and that one little thing, you finally, all of a sudden, that's like, oh, that's such a breakthrough. I made it one more step. This one's like, most of we show up, we read it down. Most of the stuff that we're doing, I've either played the rep before. It's challenging, but I've played the rep, so I know the part already. A lot of times, if I ever see the music to the Imperial March again, Star Wars, I think I've got all of it memorized because I've played every single part 50 times. But when you find, I think that's part of it. It's not just the music. It's not just the group. It's not just a player. It's like, it's this, there's a saying about, if it's a good gig, good pay, good rep, good people. If you get 2 out of the 3, it's a good gig. You get all 3, that's a great gig. And that was a great gig.
So it's like the travel kind of supplements that a little bit, because you can't get to the eureka moment so often whenever you're at that level.
Oh yeah. Well, you're always at it.
Right. Yeah.
It's there's a parallel with how I suspect you felt about performance when you were, because you got to achieve it at a very high level. You were among our best when you were at Marcus. You were on the top on, remember this all correctly, right?
I think so.
Yeah. You were in the Wind Symphony. You were making you were doing all this stuff. And putting the marching band thing aside, because that was a weekly sort of thing. But the other concerts, the percussion ensemble concert in early March, I imagine for you that was pretty special each year because it happened once a year.
Yeah.
I do that every weekend. Sometimes I've got 3 shows in a single day, and it becomes more it's not to say it's just a job, but I mean, some of it is it's the job. It's more just, okay, I got to get through this. December, or as some of us call it, Gig-cember. I mean, there have been times where I have 5 shows in a single day, and it's just like,
because all the places have a Christmas show, basically,
right? Or some sort of service.
Yeah.
Now 3 of them might be the same, but I do this. One of the mega churches, there's a flying drummer thing of which I've been notoriously a part of, because apparently I look like a biblical figure, and I am dead center, so I'm kind of hard to not notice. So that Saturdays, those are 3 days. There's a morning, matinee, evening show, and I've got a rehearsal right smack in between or right before it, and then I run to the first rehearsal, and then as I go off and I got to do this other gig over in Capel to whatever, and then I come back and it's like, okay, well, you're just getting through. You make sure the logistics are right. There is no emotion. There's no anything. It's just hope to God there's no traffic, and know your routes all around that in case I use my apps, the Google Maps, Apple Maps. I'll have them both running just to make sure if there's because it's like if I'm 5 minutes later then problems.
It's reminiscent of the 2012 days.
Oh God. At least with that, it was not to say it was just teaching, but I was like, okay, so I missed a lesson. Professional sort of thing. You miss the performance. You don't get called back. I mean, if it's free things have happened, not to me, but yeah, where somebody has car trouble, or something, because they have a medical emergency, something happens, but if you've been around long enough, and you have that reputation, you're good. Like you're covered. You can have something go wrong and it's not going to hurt you as badly. It's way worse when you're a younger player and you're just trying to, the first time you show up to a gig and you miss or you're late or you're 0 for 1 as opposed to, 2,374. You miss one, 2,374 out of 2,375. You'll be fine on that one.
Yeah.
Really, it's people are concerned, like, are you okay? Like, they're more concerned for you because you never miss. If you have that, reputation does so much. That's why my 20s were as essential as they were. That building up to the 2012 year, where I really worked at having a reputation that I was a dependable, reliable, competent. I fooled everybody. That's, but I built the reputation that I was a guy you could call, and I was doing that simultaneously as a teacher and as a performer. Because while I'm doing the teaching thing full out, I'm also trying. I consider myself to have 2 careers, both of which I put in 40 hours a week. Actually, frankly, sometimes more. And it depends for the gigging season. It depends on more. It's probably hours more in December for the gig side, and for the teaching side. That's all cylinders are going in that. January is going to be a little bit more chill. February gets busier. There's cycles, or it might be, I'm doing 60 hours a week in this period as a player. And okay, so I'm only getting to do 30 hours because I'm having to cancel some things. I'll make it up the next week, but or it's just gone. But I very much have 2 distinctly different careers, and they inform each other. Again, it is so much your fault that I am a better player. I'm the best player I've ever been because of having students. I mentioned Westmont Hilltop High School. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I was teaching that high school. There were times where I tried to model something. I think I meant to start this story and then I tangented. But this is really relevant to, I think, the questions and the scope you're go after. I was not a good player. And I wanted, I knew what should be done, formal marimba or, this technique or something like that. And how often I would say to a kid, I'm going to try and model this for you. It's kind of this. I'm doing this wrong and that wrong. Don't do what I'm doing here. Do better. I can't do it, but I'm expecting you to. God, I hated that as a teacher. That I couldn't just be the model. Because there's also something to be said about seeing somebody do it. To be like, oh, we can't, I think of the DCI videos that 10-year-olds are watching on YouTube. That video that I think coincidentally the kid's name was Brandon. He was he did BD. He ultimately did BD.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That video. Oh, like when he's in the line and he taps him off and all that, including the little, someone ticks out to his left and he gives a little shade. And he doesn't tick it. He's like, dude, you're 12. How did, and there's, I remember as that changed, there was a kid, Bryce, Gardner, I think it is.
Bryce Gardner.
Bryce went to Clark. I was almost his percussion director. Instead of Vines, Mike had actually wanted me at Clark, but it was because of my traveling, and it was a weird thing with Plano. It was realigning, and so Clark was, the sophomores were going to be still Plano East, and the freshmen were Plano. So John Brennan at Plano East, the percussion director there, had a guy, and Mike had me, but we couldn't, and I was gone for the entire set. So and so that's why I ultimately got Vines. I was supposed to have Clark, and I remember this hotshot little kid, Bryce. I'm like 95% sure. I think that was Bryce. I think he went to Clark. I could be wrong. I think I'm remembering correctly. But he was this hotshot kid that watched these videos. And then I saw the Brandon videos with BD. I was like, oh, this is just a thing. Oh, YouTube's important. YouTube is such a valuable resource. The ability for young kids to see what it is they're trying to do. A picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth 1,000 pictures. Someone right in front of you is worth 1,000 videos. And I wasn't that. I wasn't good enough. And so you damn well better believe that I fix that as quickly as possible. That was one of the single best catalysts for me shaping my stuff up. Because I had that constant reminder of my inadequacies. And now it's getting in the way of students. I am impeding what my students could do because I'm not good enough. This is where the obsessive comes in really handy. But it's because it's not about me. It's about kids. When you take that role as a teacher, it is about them. When you take that role as a parent or any sort of mentor, it is about the people that you're trying to help in whatever way that manifests itself. If you're trying to raise them, you're trying to support them, you're trying to nourish them, encourage them, whatever. It becomes 100% about them. How dare you bring anything less than your very best to the table? When you accept it, you accepted that responsibility. Mm-hmm. You said you were capable. You were up to the job of teaching these kids. You said you were ready to do that. Bring it. So that's the where I have all the patience in the world with a kid. They're not professionals. They're hobbyists. They're amateurs. They're getting exposed to music in a way that they've never known before. They're teenagers. They're not even allowed to drive, because so help me if they ever drive. You know my rule of drive. Teenagers should not be allowed to drive until they're 35. Period. Full stop. No. But teenagers don't know things. Their sphere is still very, very small relative to what it's ultimately going to be. I'm a professional. Mm-hmm. I don't have that same excuse. So I had better do anything and everything I can. And I think that should be the standard for anybody who takes that mentor spot. The responsibility is on the mentor, is on the parent, is on the adult in the room, to be the best that they can be. Because wherever you fall short, that could impact the kid. Now, the kid might thrive in spite of that, and that certainly happens. But I think that's a more difficult path. Not to say it's a worse path. It's not a worse path per se. Sometimes the struggle might ultimately be more beneficial. We of course have no way of going back to see, but for the kid. For the kid who they were the natural percussionist, the natural drummer, they just picked up everything real easy and all that. They never really had any struggles. 6th grade is fine, 7th grade is fine. At some point, they're gonna hit a wall, and the longer it goes before they hit that wall, before they feel that struggle, the more comfortable they got with, oh, this is easy. Mm-hmm. So now they don't know how to get over that wall when all of a sudden it goes from 0 to 60. But if they had that. Yeah, you're getting 95% of this. Yeah, you understand big picture. All right, let's get a little bit more nuanced. What about that? And just planting that seed, that little needling them a little bit, not to be annoying, but just to, for them, for me, it was mentally annoying when I didn't know something. I was like, oh, I don't know that. Murph was good at that. He would ask that question. I'll be like, the reminder that I don't know everything. Believe it or not, teenagers don't know everything.
Some of them think they do.
Certainly. And if that's the bubble that has to be popped so that you can actually make progress, so be it. And I have no problems popping that bubble and showing them, oh, you know everything. Got it. Oh, tell me about, oh yeah. How, okay, you know these rhythms so well? Go ahead and count that for me. Let's see how you, that's easy. It's the kids. Oh, that's the easiest thing in the world. When a kid comes, it's like, oh, I know everything.
I can show you so easily that you.
How many decades I've been, and somehow, I heard the comparison of, a street baller going up against MJ one day. Like, would Jordan ever be considered? He's as professional as you get. It's a heckler going up against a comedian. Mm-hmm. You're going up against a professional heckler. No, it's all right, sixth grader. You know everything. Got it. Somehow you've been doing this for like a month, and you know better than those are. But that's essential to knock that out of them, so that they're now open, because they're not open to learn. They're not in a place where they can learn, because they think they know everything. They don't think they have anything to learn. So you got to pop that. That's the barrier. Pop that, whatever it takes. Pop that.
So as a mentor, as a teacher, you want your student, your mentee, to be as good as possible. And really, like we said before, the long-term goal is for them to be better than you. Like, obviously, that's what you want, because then whatever you're doing won't improve over time if they don't get better than you eventually, ideally, if that's what they want. How do you keep mastery from turning into rigidity?
Well, mastery takes so many different forms. We already alluded to, mastery in music, and even in music, what other musics, at Marcus, we really strive for the concept of the well-rounded percussionist, that you can do all the different things. And typically, the people who make our upper battery, so our best rudimental drummers, there's a very high correlation that they are also typically our best keyboard players, and vice versa. Our marimba line in the front ensemble, there are no slouches on a snare drum either. They are going to be just fine if you put them on a heavyweight timpani part. They're going to be good. And so, we really we thrive on this idea of being as well-rounded as possible. But even then, there are some kids who really, they have a stronger suit here. Own that. This is the Mike Hernandez, the enabler sort of thing. If they have that spot, that's their domain. They are the king of that little hill, or the queen of that little hill. And that, the pride of that. So they don't, you cannot be a master of everything. You got to pick your battles on that one. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year. Time is finite. Time is the most precious thing we've got. Use it wisely. Mm-hmm. That's not to say you have to be active. Rest is important. I did not know that in my 20s. I did not know that in much of my 30s. I think I've gotten an idea of that now. But time is finite. So mastery can be kind of whatever the kid decides. And so I don't have to be rigid in it, because I'm not the one deciding. How dare I tell a kid, oh, you should do this? That's not my place. I'm not, I don't tell kids what to do. I'm not their parent. I think of myself more like an uncle with kids. And I think I'm if I may say so myself, I think I'm a pretty killer Uncle Brandon.
Oh, I think you can say that.
I love that, because I'm the safe space. When a kid comes in and, oh, Mr. Wiley said that, and they're upset. I could be the guy to be like, I mean, you kind of see he has a point there, right? Mm-hmm. And not to say that he's always right and the kid's always wrong, but
teacher, student.
Yeah. There is an
teenagers aren't always right.
Right. There's an inherent imbalance there. Mm-hmm. But going back to the trust thing, if there is a disagreement with, a kid comes and says, hey, I'm getting conflicting information, or I'm stuck. And I see it as like, these teachers aren't taught. This kid's been just put in an impossible situation. This teacher's requiring this. This kid's stuck. Mm-hmm. That kid is also, when that happens, they've reached out to somebody, say, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. I'm a teenager and I know I don't know all the things and I'm asking for help. Good on you, first off. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that does need to be, another adult saying, "Hey, let's think about it," or we can help that, which builds trust. If the adults are always right and the kids are always wrong, that's not fair and it's not practical. Nobody is right 100% of the time. We don't always remember everything. We don't always have the perspective of everybody. We just have our own. And so maybe from somebody's vantage point, they're like, "Oh, this is exactly what it should be." But then when you look at it from someone else's perspective, it's like, "Oh, okay." So, I mean, that's a huge part. It's just listening to kids and what they need and what they want. So yeah, they don't have to be principal percussionist, drum captain. By definition, we can only have one of those each. And again, that correlation, it's not uncommon then that those two separate positions are the same person. So we can't all be that one person. Mm-hmm. So where does that leave everybody else? Yeah. So mastery is really what the kid decides they want that to be, whether it's in music, in what aspect of music that we do, or if it's outside of that, which creates a challenge then for kids like before you had mentioned before this conversation, what about the kids who don't go on to music? Like, how do you deal with that? I'll go back to Westmont Hilltop. That was such an informative period of my life. I could not comprehend that all these kids were not going into music. I could not comprehend it. I couldn't comprehend that the vast majority of them weren't going into it. It did not help the high school that I went to, because it was a wonderful thing. There was a period of time, it was like a 5-year period, which when I graduated, in the years kind of around me, I counted this once. I think it was 14 of us went on to careers in percussion. Murph is an exceptional teacher. Murph was like a Hernandez, the enabler, and most of us have our master's degree. I'm not sure if there are any doctorates in there. And they're studying, like, Teresa studied with Nancy Zelsman. Somebody went off and studied with Gordon Stout. Somebody got into Eastman. Not me. Andrew, he came out and joined me at IUP. He took over for Murph. He's now the band director and percussion guy at our former high school. I was a guy named Andrew Wright, great cat. The refined, like he was, I was I shot from the hip and just kind of, and Andrew was he was the discipline, he was the good one. But yeah, he came out because I had to drop out of school for a couple of years. I ran out of money. I came back to school. So he's 3 years younger than me. So now we're like, and I'm only going part-time. Once I came back, I was part-time because I had to work. I had a full-time job. I sold women's shoes at Kaufman's department store in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, which is like an hour commute. And I'm doing that full-time. It's commission. So like you gotta hustle. But yeah, so that just timed up. So Andrew and I were like right there. Yeah, but there was this period of time where like all of my friends that I went to high school with, my closest core, we were all percussionists. We're all professionally doing this. Many of us are still doing it to this day. What do you mean you're not? You're going to be what's an engineer? That's doctor? That's, you know how you're going to make everybody feel better? Play some sweet beats. Like that's what you do. That's music. And I could not get that around my head. They and I struggled because I was 19 to 21 ish. My period of time there was, late teens, early 20s. And so coming to that realization, which led to the natural extension of that, which is, well, if they're not doing music, then what's the point? Like, what do I have to offer then? I train professional musicians. Like that was the, I'm being a professional. I'm helping you so you can do what I do. So what happens when that, because turns out not everybody thinks the same way. So how then do I still bring value to the table? What then do I have to offer? More generally, what is a music teacher? Because the stats are, I think, pretty consistent on that. 95% of students that go through a program, roughly, they don't do it after high school. They get done. They might do it a little bit in college. They might play in their, university band, or they might do marching band or something like that. They might, nowadays we have DCI. You might go off and march a couple summers, and then you age out at 21. But then you're done. So what then is the point of music if they're not doing it professionally? And that was such a big. I really struggled with that question. But it ultimately led to whatever you do, be a master of it. Be a master of something. Whatever you decide you want, and that's what public school, I think, does. I think with the liberal arts education, which is the term we really use in college, the non-major, the liberal arts courses. Liberate, to free one's mind. Knowledge is power. The knowledge is the key to everything. That's the ancient Greek philosophy of that. A learned population, an informed population is a powerful population. And I don't mean that in terms of just the big picture thing, but just the individual. Do you have enough knowledge to make your own choices? Or do you need someone else to shepherd you? Which it's not to say we don't need some guidance. I needed guidance. I literally would not have graduated high school if it was not for my high school teachers. I would have been a dropout, 100%. That's it. I needed guidance, and I needed someone to keep me, put the rail guards up and keep me going until I could function for myself. That's what there's a parallel with the beginning, the middle school percussionists. Their parent makes them stay in band for X amount of time, whether or not they get bribed or whatnot, which you and I are thinking the same person, I'm sure. And that kid fully would have quit band. They've said it. Their parents said it. The music staff all knew it. And they end up turning into one of the best everything that I think we'll ever see at Marcus. The kid who graduates early. Hi, Jay, by the way. Yeah. I'll throw it. Who graduated early so that he could march Vanguard for the summer. And yet he was still up at school every single day, after school and all that. And he would say, "Hey, let's go drum," as he's grabbing a kid by basically pulling their arm out of their socket and let's drum. And just being that, and that's the middle schoolers don't really know the proverbial, they don't know what they're going to have for lunch yet. Mm-hmm. So give them something, throw something against the wall for them to see if they like it or not. Try this on for size. And if it takes, great. And if not, okay, we'll try something else. Let's see if you like this. It doesn't matter what it is that you ultimately do. Just in big picture in life, find that which makes you happy. That if you want to have that feeling of purpose, I don't have my own children, but I have a very parental urge to leave it better than I found it. And so that's my drive. In that regard, my role as a mentor is vastly more important than as a player. Player, it's paycheck. I enjoy doing it. It's fun. It's not terribly hard. For to be able to pay the bills, there are a lot worse ways than playing triangle. There are a lot harder ways to make a lot less money. I will never complain about my professional situation. I'm good. I'm lucky bastard. But yeah, having those kids find a thing for themselves, as was done for me. It's paying back. I became a teacher. That was how did I, it was paying homage to my teachers, because I wouldn't be here without them. So I became a teacher to honor them.
What do young people misunderstand about being good at something?
Oh, that's good. I don't know. Because everybody's different. I don't know. There's one thing. I'm not even sure if there's like a generalization.
Because there's a lot of angles, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, why are you getting good at something? Would be one of the questions. Is it because it's for a grade, or is it because it's your passion, or wherever on that, I don't know if it's a spectrum, but we could say it's kind of a, something you have to do versus something you want to do. We do what we have to do in order to do what we want to do. Maybe it's the jumping through hoops thing. I was terrible about that. Teenagers generally, I think, are terrible about that. Some do it just fine. They understand it. They're like, okay, or they do what they're told, and that's fine. I was not that person. I was a little bit more difficult. Yeah. There are a few teachers, high school teachers mainly, that I probably should go back and apologize for being so difficult. Not some of there are a couple of them that no, it's like, oh, no, just let me go to it. Yep. You don't want me in this classroom. I don't want to be in this classroom. Like, my work's done. I actually did my work the day before. You haven't even taught the lesson yet. And I've done the work. Can we just, this relation, that's fine. I was trying to do them a solid. And usually they would because I want to go practice. So it's, I was difficult. And this goes back to the thing, like, is there a way to get through to kids before they have the failure, or is the failure necessary? That was earlier in the, sometimes that failure is necessary. There's no getting through to them, that they just have to, have that, fall short or whatever. We're talking about mastery with whatever it is you're going to do. If you want to, I have a thought, I'm forming it. I'm losing my thought, and it's coming back. It's a good question. Can you hit me with the question again?
Yeah. What do you think young people misunderstand about getting good at something or being good at something?
It goes back to what. I would ask the question, for what are you trying to get good? To understand that. And for the things where it's the hoop, that was what I was trying to get back to, it's the jumping of the hoops. If I could have one wish, it would be to get through to kids on that one, to, get through to myself, which nobody could get through to me. They tried. There was no getting through to me. I had to learn it the hard way. But the hard way meant I did not fill out the paperwork that I should have filled out, fill out all the scholarship forms that I could have. I did not get the grades that I should have gotten. I'd like to think I could have been a straight A student. I got a 69.4 in my senior English class. I technically did not graduate. That was a really good English teacher. I liked her. It wasn't willing to, and she and I got along fine. She could see kind of what I was dealing with, and she gave me a lot of grace, more than I probably deserved. And I really appreciate that of her. And yeah, she rounded me up to get me through. But as a result, I was so painfully in debt with student loans, which that changes your calculus. And it's come to a point now in my life where, I don't plan on having my own children, or that's just not, I don't have any aspirations of buying my own house. And I'm okay with it. My lifestyle is very much that, but I have to wonder if 25 years ago, if I hadn't been saddled with all that, and this is, student loans when, like, I came in at the worst possible time, where we didn't understand how, I'm going to use the word predatory, which I think we understand it now. We didn't know then, and I was just trying to graduate high school. I am dumbfounded somebody actually accepted me into a college. I have no money to pay for it. I've got nothing. That was the only option I had.
And it's just what you do.
Right.
At that point.
That was the conventional wisdom. Take out as much money, whatever they offer you, you take it all out. We will deal with paying it back later. And I got through. Cool. Was there a better way? I will never forget a conversation I had with Will as a senior. He's laying out the money. He's got everything and at the end of it, I remember exactly what I said. And I quote, "I see no fault in your logic." And he turned down schools that he really wanted to go study. He wanted to study with Shi'i. God, she is our best. Shi'i Wu, an insanely brilliant educator, player. She is one of our best. And she wanted Will, and Will got in. And he said no because he saw the long term. Will was better about that than I was. I fell into that pothole, and it altered the course of my life and what I will and will not be able to do financially for my entire life. There is no going back. There's no, even now, it's, and I'm okay. But if I could have started putting money away, like a savings account or something 25 years ago, I might get to retire one day. I don't think that's in my cards. I think I'm in the post till I die, or I just eventually just get a van. And I've had this joke for years where I'm just going to time it where I sell off all my instruments to pay for whatever, rent or the van. And I'm going to time it so that I run out of instruments the day that I die. And I wish that wasn't I wish that wasn't a joke. That was probably going to ultimately be true. But that all goes back to that. If I would have done those essays and gotten those better grades, I would have more options now. And that is the cost of not jumping through those hoops, of not having that person who really could, the actual parent that could say, oh, you're going to get this done.
Yeah.
Or you're grounded, or the person that guides you, that puts the thumb on you to keep pressing you forward. My teachers, they got me graduating, they got me through, and I owe them everything. But I was not their biological kid. Yeah. They had their own biological children that they were responsible for. And they Dolores still, I am her son. So she's very much, she's got a biological daughter, Anne. And I'm very much the son, which is another big part of the traveling. She had pancreatic cancer when I was in grad school, at the end of my grad school. And very long story short, basically, I realized, and she survived. She's fine. She's good. She's still, yeah. Good. But 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when this came down, it was a death sentence. And I did grad school right. I was It's all through my 20s. I was focused. I just didn't do anything else other than practice and do what I needed to do. But that meant I wasn't communicating with people. I lost contact with people. They understood. They knew I was working. I sent up little bits of life. I'd post on Facebook or something like that. Still alive. I did this thing. Okay, whatever. Back to the practice. And so that changed everything when Dolores got the diagnosis. Stage 3 too. It was like bad. And she survived. And after that, I was like, I'm never going to go 6 months without giving her a hug. She lives in the middle of Pennsylvania. She lived in New Jersey. She moved years after I graduated. But that's where she lives now. And that was it. And that streak continued up until we had to go into lockdown for COVID.
Wow.
It's a 15-year streak. You get older and you start realizing, other things are important. Like you change what's important. So having this idea of mastery, somehow I actually am pulling this back to the mastery that changes. Kids don't know what they necessarily want. Some will, most don't. Especially in this world that we're coming into now, which is only getting exponentially more different. 100 years ago, your grandpappy was a farmer, your dad's a farmer, you're a farmer, your son's going to be a farmer. And the lands just handed down, and it was basically a class system. You were what your family was, what they are. This whole convention of going, and this is part of why college and paying for college and why it's so, it's this it's a complete shift in society.
It's so new.
It's so new. And it's only getting newer and newer. We did not have the option. 50 years ago, you got a job fairly early on, and you could kind of rely on being in that job through retirement. And you'd put in 25, 30 years. How many people do we know, even, my age, let alone your generation? I've got, 20 years on you. I don't know many people who are in line to do yours, obviously much younger, but imagine how many of your friends still in the same gig, hell, let alone the same career. Some cats that are doing the engineer, the doctor, they're probably but they're gonna change jobs. They're going to use that as this is something that the 20-year-olds, you're so much better at negotiating, to saying, no, my time is worth more than that. I don't have to, these cats are willing to pay me more, so I'm going to go over there, and advocate for yourselves. You guys are so much better at that than, I think so many of my generation, the older, is just like, that's the gig, and that's what it is. But yeah, we don't know what mastery is going to be. Open yourself up to as many possibilities. Have as much expertise, as much wisdom. There's I mentioned, know everything about something. The other side of that idea is know something about everything. Be as well informed, as well learned, as diverse. And I usually use that in the idea of conversations. How often we have when I was in my 20s, believe it or not, I didn't know anything other than music. And so the only conversation I could have was music. If we went anywhere, even remotely outside of that, I got kind of awkward. And that was, talk about just being a boring human being, which has its own, because we're in a networking world now. I'm hiring for a gig next month. I'm the principal for the McKinney Philharmonic Orchestra. So I am responsible for hiring people for that. I can't hire somebody if I don't know they exist, or if I do know they exist, but I don't want to be in a section with this because they're kind of kind of awkward, and I don't know they're gonna. Right, but they're cats. Darren, effortless. Darren is not awkward. Changing. He and I, in that role, because he's the principal in Abilene, but I'll hire him in McKinney whenever possible. But usually he thinks I'm easy to work with. I show up, I'm responsible, I'm going to be on time. I anticipate probably so yeah, we have to be interesting. And he and I don't just talk about percussion. We talk about so many other things outside of that. So that parallels to, know as much about as much as you can. Be as well informed as learned. Which goes back to do your homework in math class. It's and that's what I try and get through to kids. That's something when we have that time. Get it done. Be curious about other things, which is really ultimately what ends up what ends up being the music role. Music is the thing that you're curious about. That's outside of your ultimate realm. And you're really curious about that. And you got to have this high level of achievement or some, just being part of our we seem to do pretty well. Being a part of that, getting a front row seat, whether you're our principal percussionist or, in our bottom band, you're still around that. You get to see it. You get a front row seat to what mastery is. To look at the person next to you and be like, how did you... Oh, I got to learn that. That's... you feed each other, but you have that chance to really get to see what mastery is. Well, that's, I think, fairly easily applied to whatever else. You want to be exceptional at whatever it is. Well, one of my sayings, I'm sure I was using it with you, slow it down, break it down. That's how you solve everything. Break it down, slow it down, break it down. It's 4 words, 6, but 2 repeated. That's how you solve everything. And that goes back to that Westmount Hilltop thing where I was like trying to find how to relate what I have to offer, which is very much through the musical lens. We both know I go well outside of that as life happens. But ultimately, I think that you can pretty much solve every problem with those 6 words. Slow it down, break it down. Break it down, slow it down. However that breakdown is, however you need to, just take the step back and breathe for a second, sleep on it, wake up with a fresh mind, talk to somebody else, whatever that is. That's something that I think you can be an amateur at music, do it at a very high level in high school, non-professionally, and then apply it to whatever you do decide to do, which of course then I think that makes you far more pliable and marketable in the world. Because ultimately, much like a parent, I want you to be able to pay your bills. I want you to be able to have to not be homeless. I want you to not be poor. I want you to not worry about a damn thing. I want you to be secure in life, in everything, and as part of the team of people that has been some sort of mentor in whatever form that is, for so many kids. I think ultimately that's what we hope for, and I think that's a really important thing to have. So rigidity, it's not even a thing. It's no, the kid gets to decide. The parent in me says, "Will it pay your bills? Can you do this thing?" Like, all that sort of. But we also get to ask, does it make you happy? Are you happy? Are you content doing this? Could you see yourself doing this for a long time? to be able to do it at a high level. Can you apply the lessons you got from practicing a marimba solo, which ultimately doesn't even matter. Again, if any of the kids are any of my currency, la la la, that's, but big picture, we're not going to remember that, you got a 1 your sophomore year in high school. You're not going to necessarily remember that as vividly as that experience, the group setting when you happen to be part of a team of people that got a state championship drumline thing, or got to play the first honor percussion ensemble in the state of Texas, which were you 19? Mm-hmm. So you would have taped for that, mm-hmm. but didn't get to play the concert.
Correct.
No. Thanks for that. Yeah. Those kids loved it. But to get to be part of that. But then ultimately I suspect, the things that you do in high school are going to be eclipsed by the real things you do when you're an adult, when you have full agency. Because in high school, you still have the guardrails on you. You still have Wiley throwing down those notes down people's throats if they're not taking care of their stuff, which is his responsibility. I never do that because I'm more the one-on-one guy. If you're going to fail at your solo, that's your choice. The percussion director, or the person in charge, ultimately, they have the responsibility of the whole program. That if one person falls short, it hurts everybody else. And the director ultimately has the responsibility of what's good for the many. So if that means, like laying down the law and that, like, rehearsing that, and repping that, and doing basically the practicing for the person, yep. That is something that person has to do. Mm-hmm. I did it when I was the percussion director, because that's the gig.
Yeah. You're teaching accountability.
Yeah, that is the word. Mm-hmm. It's all about accountability.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a good note to kind of end on, honestly. Brandon Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I think tying it all together with like being as good as you can at as many things as you can, but understanding that takes responsibility is really good. And there's, I would say, almost like a expectation of wisdom in the growth that you have to be looking for in that, almost where it's like teaching high schoolers about this kind of thing is like almost, it's kind of like teaching a dog Arabic, and it's like and the dog doesn't speak Arabic, of course, right? And so it's like, how do you teach a 16-year-old how to kind of like be wise about something? Well, you don't. And you don't tell them how to do it. You just kind of show them, and whether or not you're modeling music, you're modeling the wisdom for them. And yeah, I think that is a really good, like, just a bow on top of all of this, where if you're gonna do something, which you should do something, do it well, and do a lot of things, and do them as well as you can, without, really becoming destructive, right? Without and like, it's like having high goals, but not unachievable goals.
Fair. Yeah. And to try and keep balance in life, to not let the failure, because failure is going to happen. There are healthier ways to go about that, where it doesn't have to be destructive. It can hurt. That's okay. You can learn from that. Sometimes it's what a vaccine is. You take a little bit of a hit so that it's not worse later on. Yeah. But that's a great way of putting it. That, it's accountability. It's in that regard modeling, so they can see examples of it. I had it done for me. I hope to do it for others, so that when the kid is ready we can remember that. I remember my lessons with Mr. Murphy, and I was not ready to listen to him fully at the time. But 10 years later, whatever opportunities when I'm all of a sudden the teacher, or this opportunity, this event, this situation happened, and I remember back. Oh yeah, that's what they were. Oh, they were right. But I was smart enough to remember it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. At the risk of sounding too much like a dad joke, I think this was an instrumental conversation.
You know me,
Absolutely stunning.
my penchant for puns. That's great note to end it on.
Thank you.
Thank you.